Alright people, we are here for week 2 of season 2 of the Battle Hub Draft League. I'm joined by my co-host Tracy Guard, I'm Del Monte Blaze, and we're going to be going over every single match from the Battle Hub Draft League. Very rare occasion where we have all 8 matches documented here. So let's get into it. Tracy, what have we got? Well, I'll tell you what we're looking at here, Foxy. We're looking at a stacked week. First of all, we've got the rematch of Capt B-Nard versus the Notorious H.I.M. We've also got a lot of cool matches like Scorpion versus Brandon trying to take on the Cresselia. We've got Biradu versus Pokemaster. Big match between Raymon and Icy Dude. Battle of the Pseudo-Legendaries. And of course, how could we forget the Battle of the Conks. So, it's going to be a tough week, but I think it's going to be a fun one. Absolutely. And we are going to cut to our first match. Let's get into it.
All right, Foxy, what are we thinking here at Team Preview for our first game? Well, Tracy, we've got Emerald versus Jack, and we've got Paradox Mon on either side of the team with the Pincurchin that could potentially give a boost to either of them. We've also got Mons like Landorus and Slowking that could potentially wall a lot of Emerald's Mons. Compared to the Heatran, that's really the only other defensive Pokemon other than maybe a Spadafoopa. But it does have a Life Orb on Emerald's side, so we'll see what happens over here. Very interesting game to see, though. We love to see it. So, lead matchup, what are we going to see? We're going to see Drip Queen. That's got to be the Slowking, right? Yep. And on Emerald's side, we do see Nini the Frostlass. Pretty easy spike here. To be expected, just trying to get those hazards. They do have the Tidy Up for it. That could potentially stop them. Goes for an Ice Beam. You know, for a Pokemon like Slowking, I would have thought it would have tanked a little bit better. So everyone probably has a little bit of a Spatak investment as continues to go for the spikes. Furret could come in and try to get rid of them, but hasn't done it yet. As we do see the Curse Body activate on the Sludge Bomb. As Heatran comes in to take the Future Sight. And the Chilly Reception goes off as Heatran faces down the Heracross. Takes the Future Sight. And it's the Guts activated on the Heracross. It's a bit of a scary situation. You're going to want to get out of there in the face of that Heracross. Yep, absolutely, Tracy. So we do see the Terra, and it's a Terra Dragon. Perhaps expecting a Fire move coming out there from a potentially Scarf Heatran. Jack is having none of that, though. They're going to quickly dispose of this Frostlass. Those spikes are still up, though, and this Terra Dragon does invite in the Iron Valiant. We know it's not Scarf, because we obviously just saw the Flame Orb, so we got a free Moonblast off here from Emerald, and this is going to be a Life Orb boost. It does a heck of a lot, because it is indeed a critical hit onto the Slowking, and even after the Black Sludge, that's actually going to put it in range of a knockoff there, so that just goes to show how much move diversity this Iron Valiant has. Absolutely, as the Iron Bundle comes in, takes a Spikes chip, and because that chip, it is actually able to go down in one hit to the Vacuum Wave. So that's pretty impressive to see. As we see the Victory Bell come in, you know that this Iron Valiant probably doesn't have a move to hit it. So Jack's calling them out on their bluff, and they're just going to go for a nice big Power Whip. Does a heck of a lot to this Pincurchin. Is able to knock it out in 2 blows. You know, a defensive invested Pincurchin. Not an easy mon to take down, especially if it's not super effective. That does invite in the Howlucha, however, though, Tracy, as we are going to see the Electric Seed boost its defense. And now it goes for a Bulk Up and onto the Lando switch, as the Lando goes for the Taunt, and means it can't go for it anymore. But it's too late, as it's already going for the Acrobatics. As Victory Bell now comes back in and takes some Spikes chip, is able to go for a Sucker Punch. It's absolutely nothing, because at this point, Howlucha is +3 defense. And now Emerald is set in a very good position. Because a very good position indeed. He's going to just keep on going for those acrobatics. The Spikes chip that was set up earlier, Lando is the only thing that can come in at this point. It is able to intimidate. Goes for the acrobatics, gets a second critical hit. If Lando probably would have lived, if it not been for that crit, it wouldn't have been able to do much, but at least it could have lived and bought himself some more time. But that's going to be it for that game. Yep, that was an absolutely crazy game from emeraldminer versus Jack. Now we're hopping into Captain B-Nard versus H.I.M. A game that a lot of us have been looking forward to, because H.I.M actually beat Captain B-Nard in Season 1. And now we're facing down Poltegeist with the White Herb Shell Smash, along with Banded Palafin, and a lot of defensive Pokemon like Mudsdale and Wigglytuff. Yep, and H.I.M, of course, is going to lead off with the Dragapult turn 1 versus the turn 1 Palafin. Gonna get that 0 to hero set up. Brings in Joy Fontaine, the Wigglytuff. Goes for a Thunderbolt, actually, does a fair amount. Wigglytuff is able to shake that off, and he's gonna switch out his Dragapult. Not wanting to take a Moonblast or anything into the Thunder Wave on the cliff. Misses the Thunder Wave, which sucks because, 90% accurate Thunder Wave used to be 100% back in as late as Gen 6, but then it got nerfed. Absolutely. As the Clef is going to go for the rocks. You love to see the rocks. We do see the Ogerpon now going for Trailblaze versus a Clef. This is actually the second week in a row that Clef is facing down Ogerpon. Goes for the Encore, so H.I.M has prepped even more to face down Ogerpons with Clefable. Locking it into the Trailblaze. As Kilowattrel comes out and it's facing down this Alolan Muck. Gonna Volt Switch out with that Spec damage, is gonna do a lot. Bullseye comes in now, as Alolan Muck is able to get some HP recovery along with the Mudsdale. Not wanting to take an Earthquake or anything, they're going to switch out into Leviathan as it gets the attack drop. Going to go for the nice safe rocks. Good play on V-Nard's part. Good to have those hazards up at some point. Going to Terra the Gyarados, that way it doesn't have to worry about taking any damage later on. As goes for the Dragon Dance to get the +1. Good play on B-Nard's part though, because he's going to roar him out. That Dragon Dance was obvious coming from a mile away. As now the Muck is taking a couple rounds of damage. As is this Ogerpon. You're forced to run the mask, so you can't run heavy duty boots. So the Shadow Sneak is almost going to take it out. Does get the Poison Touch though, as goes for the knockoff, which then allows the Ogerpon to go down to Poison. Absolutely. And now the Palafin is going to come in, and Rainbow Goose switches out into Clefable. Going to get a nice big flip turn off. Good way to keep up momentum on B-Nard's part. Does take the Rocky Helmet chip, though, as these hazards are just chipping into B-Nard's team. Clefable finally goes down, though, as Craggle comes in. Doesn't get flinched by the Air Slash, just is able to get out the Rapid Spin, and is going to get +1 speed. Bit of a missed opportunity. You could have gone up to +2 speed. I'm not sure how much it would have mattered though, as they are faster than this Poltergeist either way. It does go for the Shell Smash, gets off a good amount of chip, and you would be in a position where with those minus defenses it would do even more, but because the White Herb it's going to do the same amount. Goes for the Light Screen here actually as the Sword Power goes off, and we see Cryo going to go down. The Light Screen is pretty clutch though, as Lycanroc comes in and they're going to go for the Terra Ground on the Poltergeist. Goes for a big Terra Blast. Because those rocks are gone, it is able to hang on with his Focus Sash and goes for an SD. Goes for the Excel, not able to do quite enough as the this Poltergeist is getting defense boost. And now because of the Strength Sap, it is going to get all the way back to full. Goes for another Accelerock as its defenses are indeed being weakened. But at this point, it's too late for this Lycanroc as it finally goes down to Sword Power. That Light Screen's still up though, as it goes for the Shadow Stick, still doesn't do enough, and no Poison Touch there either. As it goes for a big bad Terra Blast. You gotta have the Terra Blast ground when you're facing down a Alolan Muck, you just have to. As the Gyarados comes out, is able to tank because of its natural def, bulk, and the Light Screen. And even with all those weak armor boost, the Poltergeist finally goes down. Palafin comes in, and not wanting to take any big damage. Going to bring in the Palafin on the Jet Punch, which does get it pretty chipped though, as it goes for a big bad Thunderbolt, chipping down the Wigglytuff even more. Absolutely. As now we see Bullseye come in on a potential Thunderbolt, and it is a Thunderbolt, so Mudsdale's able to live that easily. And he's free to get up the rocks here again, Now that the Cryogonal's gone, you can get the rocks back up to get continual chip. Or you can just go straight for an Earthquake. Yeah, it's pretty late in the game for rocks, Foxy, but we'll see. As Bullseye is going to switch out here into Joy Fontaine, and we'll see what they want to go for here. Does go for the Terra Blast, and that's easily going to be able to take out the Joy Fontaine. As now Palafin is able to come in here, and because their Pokemon have been so chipped, Gyarados is going to go down here. Yep, and because the initial chip from that previous Jet Punch, that does now mean that this Polt is dead in 2 more hits, and the Palafin is able to take it out with a second Jet Punch. So, man, what a close game. Any number of things could have shifted it either way, but in this case, we do see Captain B-Nard pick up the win versus the Notorious H.I.M. And now we come into game number 3, where we see the Battle of the Conkelders. Unfortunately, only one side here has a member of the Conkelder line, being Almond with his Girder, versus Lionel. They do have a lot of cool Pokemon, though. They've got their own fighting type in Urshifu Dark. They've also got Poltergeist and Snorlax. Pretty bulky team. Gonna lead turn 1 Regieleki as Almond makes a big brain play here, bringing the Terra Ground Girder, who is immediately going to be able to go for a big ground type move, be immune to the Volt Switch, and then get up a nice big high horsepower into this Regieleki, knocking it out. You know, a bit of a risk there missing, but you know, it is nice to have the ground coverage whether or not you Terra, as we do see the knockoff, get rid of the leftovers. Nice to get rid of that passive recovery on his Poltergeist, as the Golden Go is able to come in here, goes for the Machigacha, and doesn't do a whole lot, but let's not forget that Poltergeist is fairly strong. It's a little bit weaker than its cousin Poltergeist, but the Sinistria here is still able to Terra Fairy here. No long... Oh, goes for Thunder Wave, actually. I was going to say it could not be weak to Shadow Ball, but they're going to go for their own Shadow Ball and just take out this Golden Go, so it's not a problem. The Rotom Heat is able to come out here now, as it goes for the Overheat. Does absolutely nothing to this thing, as we do see another Shadow Ball come off. Goes for the Volt Switch here, as going to go back in Almond, back out into Girder. Another Strength Sap user. You know, we just had Poltergeist using Strength Sap. Now we've got Sinistria using that move, and then the Stone Edge miss does suck. That's why we don't want to use Stone Edge, as it is weak to Machigacha, so that means that Mon's going to go down now. We do see another Machigacha here onto the Salamence Switch, as now it goes for the Dual Wing Beat. Does absolutely nothing to this thing. This Poltergeist is clearly defensively invested, as it goes for another Strength Sap. Doesn't heal it up by too much, though, as the Girder is going to come out here. And the Sinistria is paralyzed, unfortunately. Goes for high horsepower. Goes for yet another Strength Sap, which means that this Poltergeist is going to probably go back to full. Indeed it is, as we do see now high horsepower at -1. It gets a crit, so it's going to allow it to do a lot more. As Machigacha finally takes down the Girder. Yep, that's right. So, in this position, this is not looking very good for our boy Almond, as Rabombi is going to come in, though. They do realize that if they try to take this thing on with a physical attacker, it's just going to keep on Strength Sapping and whittling down. Because they're using a special attacker, the Strength Sap is not going to heal them up by that much, and it's not going to decrease the amount of damage that they do. So they're just going to keep on spamming Moonblast here, get up the webs. Webs don't matter a whole lot in this game, but, you know, maybe versus the Urshifu, they could do something. Goes for the webs, brings out the Quaquaval, as they do see a future sight. So you don't want to stay in here too long with this Quaquaval. You just want to do enough damage to get this thing chipped. We do see Reflect go up, as Quaquaval is indeed going to switch, bring out the Salamence into the Body Press. Going to eat it up. Does tank the future sight, as now it's going to go for a big bad crunch. Get this Bronzong even more chipped. Goes for yet another future sight. So you're going to have to wait until all those future sight turns are done to bring Quaquaval in. They're going to bring Rotom in now, as the Bronzong does switch out, into Biradu the Victorious, the Tyranitar. Does get the sand up, so I think he's going to be taking a residual sand chip here. Goes for a big bad Will-O-Wisp. That's a great play on Almond's part, weakening this T-Tar, as now this is something that your Quaquaval could potentially set up on. And there's the future sight. Perfect timing, as now this is a great time to be able to bring in the Quaquaval. Indeed, and that's exactly what Almond does. So, going to take a little bit of chip, but does go for an SD here. As keep in mind, the Reflect is still up on their side. It's a big bad crit though, so that is going to put him in range of potential priority from Lionel. They don't have Conkeldurr. It'd be nice to have Mach Punch, but they didn't have it. Goes for a big bad Aqua Step. Not wanting to potentially take another defense drop from close combat on a potential Sucker Punch from Urshifu, but that does mean that they are able to survive, and Quaquaval just continues to get shipped. It is so low, any priority move could probably take it out at this point, as the Sandstorm does subside. Reflect goes down, as Snorlax come out. You have to go for the close combat to take out the Snorlax, as indeed they do. Almond probably thought, well, if they didn't go Urshifu immediately, they probably don't have Sucker Punch, and that's a pretty good insight to have, because this Urshifu is going to take the webs, and it indeed does not have Sucker Punch. So this Quaquaval is just continuing to just run through Lionel's team. In a position where Almond was basically stuck against the Sinistcha, couldn't stop it. Thankfully, they did indeed have the Rabombi to help take it out, get lower into a position where Lionel felt like they had to switch. As we do see the big bad Moxie boost into another Aqua Step into the Bronzong, able to take it out. Yeah, you know, that Sinistcha was sticking around for way too long. Didn't get paralyzed until much later than we would have expected, you know, but that's just one of those things in Pokemon. Sometimes it goes one way, sometimes it goes another way. As now we're into Raymon versus Icy Dude. Raymon has been doing pretty well so far. They got a big bad sweep versus Biradu. This time they're using Choice Band Excalibur, and looks like potential Belly Drum Ozzy set, so that's going to be fun with a Citrus Berry. And let's see what we got here. So Lionel is going to lead off with the Mamoswine versus the Baxcalibur. Raymon's going to switch out just in case. He doesn't want to take a whole lot of damage. He's going to bring in Nevermore and applies the pressure as they go for the Rock Blast here, revealing the Loaded Dice Mamoswine. Now that this thing has Icicle Spear, no longer necessarily having to rely on Icicle Crash. With Loaded Dice, this thing could be even better. Yep, it does go for the Rain Dance here, as we do see another Icicle Spear. Although I gotta imagine, was it the fact that did Mamoswine have Icicle Spear? I'm not quite sure if he did, Tracy, but you know. Either way here, we're going to just see the Umbreon here. It could just be the fact that it has access to Loaded Dice in this generation. We are able to go for the Weather Ball, thanks to the rain that was set by the Corv. Doesn't have it for too long, but this Zapdos, you'd love to see a Zapdos in the rain. Goes for 100% accurate Thunder, gets the Para immediately on the Umbreon, and because of it, the electric type on Zapdos synchronizes and it can affect it. Umbreon's doing Umbreon things over here, going for the Wish Protects over here. That's fair enough. As goes for the Hurricane, gets a Confusion immediately too. But this Umbreon is able to break through the Parafusion and go for the Wish. So you have to hope that it's not able to break through, but this Umbreon is not having it today. It is going to immediately break out of Confusion and go for the Protect and have its wish come true. So the Rain turns are running out. It's continuing to go for it as we see the Toxic come off, which is exactly what you want to see. Now this Umbreon can just sit here forever because it has nothing to lose. This Zapdos, however, has everything to lose, as it is going to switch out. Doesn't want to be chipped by the poison. As Baxcalibur comes in, and now we basically reset to the first turn of the battle with Baxcalibur versus Mamoswine. Absolutely foxy, but this time we see the Banded Glaive Rush actually does take out the Mamoswine. Now that Raymon knows that it's Loaded Dice and not Choice Scarf or anything, he can safely go for that Glaive Rush, and it does actually take it out. This does invite in the Tinkaton, as Zapdos comes in. Predicts him with the Ice Hammer. That's probably the first time I've ever seen Ice Hammer. I don't know about you guys at home, but the only Pokemon that have it are Crabominable, which, you know, don't see a whole lot of that, and then Tinkaton in this generation, so that's nice to see. As to go for the Roost, you got to be able to heal off some of the Poison Chip. As Tinglu comes in, great Mon to get Hazards up. As Baxcalibur comes in, you want to get it in before those rocks go up, because otherwise you're taking 25%. Goes for the big bad Banded Icicle Crash, but because of Tinglu's bulk, it is able to make that. It's still 2 KO, but at least doesn't get OHKO'd by it. So 2 Banded Icicle Crashes though are enough to take out the Tinglu. It is still Banded Baxcalibur. Annihilate comes in, as we do see the Zapdos come in on a Stone Edge, big bad Stone Edge. The leftovers just barely able to keep it out of range. As now it goes for another Stone Edge. Does not want that Zapdos to roost off that damage. As now the Azu is able to come in. So you have invited in the Azumarill though. As now Umbreon is going to come in as a potential sack to the Play Rough. Let's get the Belly Drum off though this time, as we do see the Citrus. And we see an interesting play by Raymon here, in my opinion. Goes for the Aqua Jet actually into Umbreon. You know, I feel like a Liquidation would have been just fine. Umbreon's pretty slow and it's paralyzed, just in case they switch. We do see the Electrode is able to live the Aqua Jet though, as the Energy Ball takes down the Azumarill. Excalibur is going to come in though to revenge this thing with a big bad banded Ice Shard. That's the nice thing about having Azumarill and Excalibur. Super strong priority Pokemon. So, another Ice Shard does go into the Annihilate here. They do see the close combat take out the Excalibur though. So, kind of a big turn for Icy Dude in my opinion, because now you're in a position where Excalibur is gone, and the Annihilate now has 100 power boosted Rage Fist. Azelf comes in as the Tinkaton comes in with its air balloon. Goes for the Psychic actually to break it. You know, this is a play where I feel like going for the Rage Fist on the Excalibur might have been a bit better. It might have still invited in the Doug Trio, but you're a Ghost type, so you can switch out, bring in the air balloon, take a ton, maybe make this a little bit of a better endgame here. But the Annihilate is now going to come in, as it is going to go for the Rage Fist, and reveal that it is Scarf, and take out the Azelf. But they do have Scarf Dougie in the back, which is going to come in clutch here, because it is now going to Terra Ground on this Annihilate, and that EQ is easily going to be able to take out the Annihilate here. And that's going to be GG's to Raymon, securing their second win. But still, very well played by Icy Dude. You know, they fought as hard as they absolutely could. This was a very well fought game, taking on the big threats such as Excalibur and Ozzy. Took them out. Only thing that was left was the Doug Trio. Absolutely. And so now we are into Biradu versus Chris, Pokemaster from the Discord. Shout out to the Battle Hub Discord. And this is an interesting game. We get to see the Brute Bonnet. Haven't really seen a lot of Brute Bonnet in the Battle Hub Draft League up to this point, but we're excited to see what it could do this time. We are going to see the Elite Iron Treads versus, you guessed it folks, the Brute Bonnet. As Brute Bonnet doesn't feel very comfortable in the situation. Going to switch out into a Assume Braviary. Goes for a Volt Switch. Good play on Pokemaster's part, as Espeon is going to go for the Thunder Wave into this thing. It's paralyzed, as now Iron Moth comes in, goes for a U-turn on the Espeon, getting this thing continuously chipped. You want to chip this thing, as goes for double screens from the Espeon, as now goes for the Surf, brings in the Gastrodon to potentially get the Storm Drain, which indeed it does. So, not wanting to have any of that, we're going to go out into Steel Paper. This Gastrodon has that +1 attack, but it's actually going to go for the Rocks. Good play on Pokemaster's part. I love Rocks. So Rocks are a nice investment. Goes out in Espeon, gets the Trailblaze off actually, so now this thing is at +1 speed, although you are still behind the screen, so Iron Juggler is able to come in. He's not going to care about how much that Bullet Punch does. He does have the Flamethrower for the Scizor, as he brings out the Milotic. Iron Juggler goes for a big battle Flamethrower, and actually it's now going to reveal the Terra Grass. That's such a cool thing about having Iron Juggler on as a Terra Captain, is it able to go for the Terra Grass versus something like a Milotic. Let's reveal the Rindo Berry, folks. That's one of the first time. Well, I'm sure I've seen Rindo Berry, but after this battle, I'm definitely going to remember that Rindo Berry is for grass. His light screen finally wears off, which means that this Milotic can get off some good damage with the Ice Beam. He was just trying to tank their Terra Blast with Recover as best it could. Now brings out the Hisuian Braviary, essentially to sack it off at this point. As it goes for the Stab, Dark Pulse is easily going to be able to take out the Hisuian Braviary. Actually survives! Hang on a second. The Hisuian Braviary is more bulk than I thought, but it does get the flinch. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. As now the Iron Moth is going to come in versus the Gastrodon. Goes for the U-turn, get some more chip off on this thing. As a Scizor comes out now, and it goes to the Trailblaze onto the Gastrodon. Doesn't quite take it out because they also have a Rindo Berry. And now goes for the Surf into another Trailblaze. Now the Scizor is at +2 speed. Although it is Life Orb, so it is taking chip every single turn, folks. Goes for the Sucker Punch, but it fails. As because of the Bullet Punches, it's now in range of another. Continues to go for the Bullet Punch onto the Chandelure, getting very low, and now it's taken out. Brings in Slipknot, although Milotic is pretty low itself. Goes for a big bad Energy Ball and takes out the Milotic. So, Pokemonster's not in too bad of a position here. They've got the Chandler, but the thing is, you can't forget the first draft on Biradu's team is the Garchomp, which has been waiting to come in as Iron Jugless comes in. Garchomp is going to go for the SD, goes for the Terra Blast, but that's not going to do nearly enough. As now goes for the Scale Shot, and now Biradu is sitting in a much better position here. He was just waiting for the opportunity to get this Garchomp in, as now is +2 attack, +1 speed. The Great Iron Treads is able to survive because of the Shuka Berry, and goes for the Ice Spinner to take out this massive threat. So Pokemaster is able to neutralize it, but at what cost? Its Iron Treads is gone. As Chandler comes in versus the Water Boy, the Brute Bonnet, which is going to come in and Terra Fly. Actually now, goes for a Substitute, and anticipating a Sucker Punch. Biradu is able to go for the Terra Blast, knowing it could live at least one hit and get off a guaranteed hit in case it goes for something versus that was a status move. And Chandler is going to take that Terra Blast, able to hang on. Brute Bonnet is still alive. Now that it's out of range of Substitute, the Water Boy is now able to go for the Sucker Punch finally to take out this Chandelure. And at this point, all they have left is Meowscarada. Goes for a big bad knockoff into the Brute Bonnet, but at this point is not going to have enough HP to live a Terra Blast from the Terra Fly Brute Bonnet. And that is going to be Brute Bonnet getting 2 kills in the Battle Hub Draft League. Very exciting. GG's to Biradu and Pokemaster. And yeah, pretty epic game. Alright, folks, here we've got our next game. We've got Scorpion versus Brandon. We've got some interesting items on Scorpion. So we got the Rocky Helmet Torterra and the Assault Vest Cleavor. Scorpion's probably trying to go for more of a defensive approach to this battle, as Brandon's got a lot of strong attackers. Maybe if he can be able to shrug off enough attacks, he can be able to hit them with a counterattack and win the battle that way. Let's see what Scorpion can do here, Tracy, as we're going to see Brandon lead off with the Cinderace versus the Thundurus. Not a particularly great matchup here for either one. They're both going to try to scout and see what the other is going to be. You know, this could be a Scarf Thundurus, could be a Banded Cinderace, you know, as we do see the Volt Switch, as Scorpion does decide to stay in there. It doesn't give him a whole lot of information, but we do see the opposing Rotom now Volt Switch on the Goodra, bringing out the Bisharp. Absolutely, as Goodra Sui here is not going to be able to do too much, but it does knock off the Eviolite, which does remove a lot of the bulk from the Bisharp, so that's great for Scorpion. Brings out the Torterra, as we see an SD from Bisharp. Swords Dance Bisharp is a huge threat. It takes some like Helmet Chip, as we do see the Leech Seed go off. Unfortunately, it's taken so much damage from that initial Iron Head, this thing cannot live another one, so they are forced to now go out into Zamazenta in order to deal with this thing. Gets the defense boost, goes for another Iron Head, though, does a lot of damage as we see some Leech Seed recovery. And here at this point, Scorpion expects them to save their Bisharp and switch up, but they actually stay in, and damn, it pays off for Brandon as we see them go for the Iron Head into the Nightwolf, taking them out. Yeah, that's one of those situations, Tracy, just where sometimes over-predicting can kind of mess you up. Goodra is able to survive, though, and finally take out this Bisharp that has chipped away a lot at their team. You know, a lot of their defensive backbone has taken some hits, as now the Noivern is able to come in and finish off the Goodra since it was brought so low. The Goodra Yasui, which could probably ordinarily take on this Noivern, is now gone. And because how fast the Noivern is naturally is able to also stop this Oricorio from potentially going from a Quiver Dance early in the game. And forces Scorpion to switch out here into the Cleavor. Does take a huge Hurricane hit. That's not even Specs damage, folks. And that Assault Vest is not able to save this thing from being 2 KO'd. Not running to risk the Hurricane miss, though. We do see the confusion come through, unfortunately, for Scorpion, as it tries to break through just to get off of one nice big Stone Axe, as rocks do finally go up for Scorpion. Although now this Urshifu is chilling at +2 speed. Not a very great situation for Scorpion. Brandon is sitting pretty, though, with his +2 Urshifu, as Urshifu is revealed to not actually be Protective Pads or Punching Glove, as the Torterra is actually dealing with this pretty passively, being able to just synthesis off and let it take hits from the Rocky Helmet. Rotom is able to come out here, though, as we do see the Roar, so Scorpion's trying to stay in the game, forcing out their monsters to take some nice big chip. We do see Cinderace get dragged out. It's not heavy-duty boots, so it's got to be something to boost their power. It is going to be hit with a strong attack, as we do see the Thunderous come out. The Cinderace is going to reveal to be Libero, as it does go for the now Stab Zen Headbutt, which is going to do about 75% Thunderous, so at this point, Scorpion just has to pray for a miss, but they do connect 2 Zen Headbutts in a row, and now brings back in Torterra. It is locked in to Zen Headbutt based off that damage. It is choice band, but this does bring in the Cresselia on the Roar, unfortunately. They're going to start Calm Minding up, but Scorpion has a plan. If you can get a Leech Seed off, Cresselia has a fairly high natural HP stat, so that means that anything that's going to give the Leech Seed recovery is going to give a fair amount. You'll see how much this Oricorio was restored, as now we've got the big Calm Mind Quiver Dance War. A lot of times these things don't end, you never know which way it's going to end. It's basically going to come down to either who can get a crit first, or maybe one person edges the other out. The fact that this Oricorio has Leech Seed to help it, though, is going to mean that it can at least negate the stored power damage a little bit. Going to keep on trying to Quiver Dance up. This Oricorio also has Taunt, so they can stop them going for Moonlight, Calm Minds, which is a nice benefit. They're going to Roost up, though. Did allow the Crest to get off of Moonlight, but the Terra Steel from Brandon is now going to allow this Revelation Dance to hit super effectively. Probably wasn't the best play there, but maybe they were thinking that Scorpion might Terra here, and they wanted to resist the opposing Revelation Dance or something like that. But we do continue to see the Leech Seed here, as some more quivers, as Scorpion is preparing to finally be able to go for the one nice big Revelation Dance, but the crit comes through on the turn just before Scorpion was about to make his comeback. He needed to have enough HP to be able to survive Aqua Jet into Sucker Punch, which he probably could have if he would have been able to get another Roost off, but unfortunately it was little too late for Scorpion. Sometimes those crits just come through eventually, but that's the problem with the Calm Mind Quiver Dance War. Either way, we are now on to Stefan versus DaBestNotReally. As we see, they have a pretty powerful team. They've got that Gliscor and the Sneasler, and their signature Hisuian Zoroark, which confused a lot of people in Season 1. We see the lead Gliscor here in order to get that Toxic Orb immediately. Also gets the Poison off on the Sylveon. Sylveon is going to be able to go for the Stab Hyper Voice, of course. Stab from the Pixelate does about 50% to Gliscor, as now it is going to activate its Poison Heal. It doesn't get the HP recovery on the first turn, so in theory, you could OHKO this thing with a Hyper Voice here, but because it has access to Protect, it is going to be able to get it out of range, most likely, of the next Hyper Voice. So, not wanting to risk a roll, though, DaBest is going to send in their Florges to be able to tank the hit. This Sylveon is poisoned. The Gliscor did what it needed to do, and now it's going to continue to take more chips. So probably going to want to take Sylveon out here in order to preserve it for later. As we see them bring in Flint, the Torkoal, be able to get up the nice powerful Sun. This is, of course, Heat Rock, so that's going to be up for 8 turns. We do see the Baton Pass. You love to see the nice dry Baton Pass to get some momentum there for DaBest into their shiny Delphox. As we do unfortunately see them miss the Fire Spin. That would have trapped them and meant that they couldn't switch out on the next turn. Do go for the Lava Plume there, potentially expecting a Terra. They do not instead, or switch that too. The Lava Plume is not able to take it out as they go for the Psychic. Now you've got attack boosted. You get the attack boosted Roaring Moon in here. Not wanting to risk going for. They could have gone for the Scale Shot, but not wanting to risk the Terra Fairy. They decided to go for the safe Crunch. Lets the Sneasler in. Going to U-turn out. Continue to chip down this Sylveon. As Florges comes right back in to wall this thing. But the one thing this Sylveon can do is get up a Reflect. And this Sylveon is actually Light Clay, meaning that that Reflect is going to be up for 8 turns. So now we bring in the Meloetta, who is going to Terra Fairy here. Has a very naturally high Spadef stat of about 128, so it should be able to shrug off the attack and get the speed boost, but this is indeed a choice Scarf Flores as it is revealed here. So it's able to outspeed it, and because of the base Spadef drop, it is going to be slower. And this is also a double Scarf Sneasler, because ordinarily this form would have outsped the Sneasler, but Sneasler is still faster. As we do see the sun turn back on here for 8 more turns. Does get the poison touch off on the Torkoal, you know, these things happen. But because of the close combat attack drops, that Lava Plume is going to be able to OHKO the Sneasler. Not the bulkiest Pokemon, so at -1 the Spadef should die. We do see the Gliscor come in though on the Torkoal, continue to get the poison heal. Torkoal is just going to snack themselves off here, that way they can safely bring in their Roaring Moon. Now that the Florages and the Sneasler are dealt with, they can begin to start going for the Scale Shot here and be able to boost their speed to become the fastest thing alive. They do get the defense drop, but because the Reflect is still up, it is not able to do a whole lot. Reflect is now gone though, as we see the Protect go off, goes for another Scale Shot. It has the potential with the Dragon Fang is going to boost it enough, but you have the potential to do 100 base power, or maybe even 125 if you get all 5 hits. As Zoroark Usui is not going to be able to disguise as anything and it goes down. Would you see the Terra Fairy Appleton try to take this thing on, being immune and resisted to Roaring Moon stabs, but instead it takes the Iron Head twice, and that's going to be it. Yeah, not exactly sure why this Appleton went for Amnesia, but either way, Gliscor comes in now. And because of all those Scale Shot drops, and the Reflect being gone, there's a good chance that this Gliscor is going to die if it does manage to hang on. Only has 2 hits on the Scale Shot and yet another defense drop, and with that the Roaring Moon is going to go down easily. As now it is the Gravity, I'm sorry, the name is escaping me at this moment, but the Gravity Sandy Shocks is able to take out the Gliscor with an Earth Power. Very clutch move, because ordinarily, of course, Sandy Shocks would have been walled by Gliscor, but because of the prep on Stefan's part, it is able to break through. And now here for our last game, we have a Praetor versus Arcaniner. Pretty hype game. We've got the, of course, Screens plus Haxorus and Great Tusk. Very offensive Pokemon. But we also have the double Mirror Herb from a Praetor. Some prep. Because, of course, we've got the Sticky Webs, which is going to boost the Empoleon with competitive. If they can bring it in and predict it with the Mirror Herb, then they can get that special attack boost as well. So, Shredder comes in, as now we're going to see a Volt Switch come out from the Jolteon. Reveals that it is Life Orb, brings in Great Tusk on the Sticky Webs. Nice place, and now you can be able to Rapid Spin those away. But the thing is, though, is that this Vikavolt, let's not forget, even though it's slow, very strong special attacker, and it's just going to OHKO this Great Tusk. So that's huge for a Praetor. Great Tusk being gone so early. Grimmsnarl is going to come in, however, and we already know what this thing's probably going to do. It's going to start setting up those screens. The thing is it actually goes for the slow Spirit Break. This Grimmsnarl is even slower than Vikavolt. It's got to be running like Min Speed or be Lagging Tail or something like that, as it gets up the light screen versus the Vikavolt. Going to switch out now. It does suck, because having that Hisuian Samurai would have meant getting up some spikes with some Ceaseless Edge, which would have been nice after the Great Tusk was gone. Now it goes for the Reflect here, as this Sterilage is going to try to negate that by going for a Sword Stance here. But it is actually revealed here that this Grimmsnarl is Sucker Punch. So, on the one hand, you could be super slow with Spirit Break, or you've got 3 other priority moves, so kind of mixes it up. As Haxorus comes in now. Webs are back up. This does give the Haxorus the opportunity to now go for the Scale Shot, as it is now behind screens. And the only thing that they can really do here is they've only got 3 Mons left. They go into the Ursaluna Blood Moon, take the close combat because of Ursaluna's bulk, it is able to survive since it's a non-boost to Haxorus. And after the close combat special defense drop, it does go down to the Moonblast despite being behind screens. Goes for the Vacuum Wave. And because they're going for Sucker Punches here, this Ursaluna Blood Moon is able to begin to whittle down this Grimmsnarl. You want to be able to take him out because there's the light screen. And either way, we saw that this thing is faster with its priority. So that means that screens are now gone for the rest of the game, which is great for a Praetor. You're going to need that. We do see the Jirachi in versus the Jolteon. Let's get the speed drops, so now Jirachi's faster. So webs are kind of coming through here. As a super effective Shadow Ball goes off, but it is not enough because of Jirachi's natural 100, 100, 100 defenses. As Empoleon comes in, and now we finally get to see the Mirror Herb competitive strat come through for a Praetor. They are down to their last 2 Mons. Thunderbolt is enough with a crit to be able to take out the Empoleon. You know, if they were like max special defense, might not have been, but assuming this is offensive Empoleon, it might have been enough without the crit. Either way, we do see now the Terra Flying Talonflame versus the Terra Fairy Phalanx. A bit of a Terra showdown here at the very end as we see the dual Wing Beat go off. With the Terra, it is enough to a KO. However, this Phalanx is going to go for the no retreat here and get that speed boost, which means that it should be able to outspeed this Talonflame, because even if it had Gale Wings, it has been shipped previously. So now the Rock Slide is going to be able to OHKO the Talonflame here and give a Praetor the win at the very end. You can see how relieved he is as Phalanx just barely pulls it out. And that, my friends, is going to be the end of week 2.
Man, that was an incredible week, I tell you what. Lots of hazards, lots of screens, lots of shenanigans. And we hope to see even more next week. So what's on the docket for week 3? Absolutely. And next week, of course, we are going to have even more rematches. We got emeraldminer versus Capt and B-Nard. We got Scorpion versus Raymon for the first time, though. So kind of a reimagining of the semifinals of Season 1. And, of course, some cool new matches like Biradu versus Lionel. And we got even some matches like a Praetor versus Brandon Arcanine versus the best. Everybody's trying to get some revenge for this week. All right, we're hyped to look forward to it. Be sure to tune in next time on the Battle Hub Draft League channel for the next recap.